Hey, welcome back in today's video. Now, understand that this video, I know you saw the trigger warning. This video is going to be, well, it's going to be a lot to take in. This is about the situation that's going on with Marilyn Manson, aka Brian Warner. This video is probably going to take me a good bit to record, like a longer than usual videos, because I'm gonna have to take time in between this stuff. I did a live stream about this. If you caught it, I choked up in that. This gets rough. Now, if you guys want to read the rest of this, I'm gonna go ahead and point you to my Twitter. I don't feel comfortable reading it. As you can see, it is pretty intense, and for the sake of the other viewers out there, I feel like it's not a good idea for me to further read this. Buckle your seatbelts, because this is about to get real. Do me a favor, spam some positivity turtles in the chat. We're going to need it. If you're unfamiliar, Brian Hugh Warner, known professionally as Marilyn Manson, is an American singer, songwriter, recorder, producer, actor, painter, and writer. He was born January 5th of 1969, and he is currently age of 52 years old. He has an array of nominations and awards over the last decade, as well as some of the strangest and most bizarre stories that you've ever heard of. But there have always been rumors of this really dark truth, and when you go down the rabbit hole, it's much worse than you thought. Now, before we get into this video, I do have to give a shout out to Edward's Generation. He did a very in-depth video about this Marilyn Manson situation. He almost had like a sixth sense with this stuff, if you will. And he was talking about it before most other people were. And I have to give props to him just on the in-depth footage that he did provide with this. So I'm going to put this in the pinned comment so you guys can watch this. It talks about a lot of details. February 2nd, 2021, I tweeted, "Do you guys want me to cover the Evan Rachel Wood and other Marilyn Manson allegations?" Now, this is something that I've been hearing for years. Since I started on YouTube, really adamantly around 2018. And then in 2019, people were asking me to please look into this. And it had always been on the list of things I wanted to cover, but I never had gotten to it. And then it peaked in around the beginning of this year. So I decided I have to put this as a priority. This has to be something that I need to talk about. And here we are. If you guys don't know who Evan Rachel Wood is, she's an American actress, model, musician. She's a recipient of Critics' Choice Television Award, as well as 3 Primetime Emmy Award nominations and 3 Golden Globe Award nominations. So she's sort of a big deal. Now these, there were rumors, like she had been talking about this for a while, but no one really knew. I mean, they had their ideas, but she had not publicly named who the person was. And then earlier this month, around the 1st, she finally publicly named Brian Warner as her abuser. She came out on Instagram saying, "The name of my abuser is Brian Warner, also known to the world as Marilyn Manson. He started grooming me when I was a teenager and horrifically abused me for years. I was brainwashed and manipulated into submission. I am done living in fear of retaliation, slander, and blackmail. I'm here to expose this dangerous man and call out the many industries that have enabled him before he ruins any more lives. I stand with many victims who will no longer be silent." Now, I really have to put an emphasis on when she says manipulated out of fear of retaliation, slander, or blackmail. I want you guys to keep this in mind, because as we move forward, you're not going to believe the things that happened. Now, of course, Marilyn Manson did have to respond to this, but he didn't respond to it by naming her. Just vaguely said something, but we already knew what he was talking about. Obviously, my art and my life have long been magnets for controversy, but these recent claims about me are horrible distortions of reality. My intimate relationships have always been entirely consensual with like-minded partners, regardless of how and why others are now choosing to misrepresent the past. That is the truth. A lot of times when somebody has the courage to come forward, and I've talked about this many times, it gives other people the strength and courage to come forward themselves. Now, it's also important to say that you don't have to publicly come out about these things. You are still doing a lot of justice and help if you just make a report to the police. We understand how much courage it takes to do that, especially if you're coming out against somebody as big as an entertainer as Marilyn Manson. Now, we have heard stories going back, like I said, to 2018. There was an actor, Charlyn Yi, who accused Manson of harassment in a series of tweets back in 2018. In a now deleted tweet, Charlyn Yi says, "Don't even get me started about Marilyn Manson. Yes, this happened a long time ago on the last season of House. He came on the set to visit because he was a huge fan of the show. He harassed just about every woman, asking us if we were going to scissor Rhino, I don't even know what Rhino is, and called me a Chinaman. I genuinely hope he gets help. It's so triggering to see people come up on the internet who have harassed you, and then when you talk about the incidents, you become known as the person tied to the harasser, and that's just your name from now on. It almost overrides who you are." Another person who came out was former adult star Jenna Jameson. She told DailyMail.com about her odd fling in 1997 with the shock rocker. She said, "We didn't go out long because I cut it off after he would nonchalantly say he fantasized about burning me alive, saying that he liked to bite." Not too long after Evan Rachel Wood came out with her story, Senator Susan Rubio called for there to be an official investigation on Marilyn Manson. One of his labels, Loma Vista, decided to drop him permanently, saying that in light of today's disturbing allegations against Evan Rachel Wood and other women naming Marilyn Manson as their abuser, Loma Vista will cease to further promote his current album, effective immediately. Due to these concerning developments, we also have decided not to work with Mr. Manson in any future projects. And that's far from it. His ex-wife, Dita Von Teese, actually broke her silence, saying that the details made public didn't match her personal experience during the 7 years that they were together, but that she did stand with the survivors that came forward. You also had the likes of Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails that came out with a statement, as well as Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit, who said, "He's not a great guy, and every single thing that people have said about him is true." I do think it's important to say that Marilyn Manson once wrote a memoir, which is sort of like an autobiography, and this is what Trent Reznor was upset with him about, saying, "I cut ties with him nearly 25 years ago, and as I said at the time, the passage from Manson's memoir is a complete fabrication." This, Manson wrote in this memoir that him and Trent had done some not okay things to a girl that was incapacitated. This is obviously not good, but his memoir is filled with things like this, and there are gross exaggerations and distortions of the truth in multiple articles over the last decade. One that no one's talking about. Not many people talking about Marilyn Manson insinuating that he and Johnny Depp are into underage girls in a Rolling Stones article, and it hits different today. Now, this came out in a story from Evan Rachel Wood, who had been posting stories and is still posting stories. I highly advise you guys to follow and look at the truth that she's putting out there. The Rolling Stones article says, he starts talking about his friendship with Depp again. "We like to consider ourselves 12th graders, the guys with more experience than the 9th graders, the ones that the girls want to. I mean, time and age are really irrelevant to me. Johnny is the same way. Sometimes I think I'm trapped in the age that I started this. I'm trapped at 23. Or 14, of course, depending on the company." I can only imagine that, much like Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails, that Johnny Depp, we're most likely going to hear from him soon about this, because if what I'm hearing is correct, there's a lot of distortions of reality that have been fabricated by Manson. Evan Rachel goes on in her story to say, "I'm seeing a lot of testimonies from underage victims of Brian Warner, Marilyn Manson, who are afraid to reveal their identity. If you were a minor when you were abused by Brian Warner, please know that you can report these crimes to the police and stay anonymous to the public. They will hide your identity." And again, even if you don't come public, it still is entirely helpful to all survivors everywhere, and it does put these people behind bars. Now, I'm going to go over 2 to 3 other stories, but I'm not going to go over all of them because the details of these stories, they're too much for video. And if you do want to read these, viewer discretion is advised. They will be in the pinned comment. Tread carefully with these. This comes from Instagrammer Sour Girl, who says, I met Brian Warner, known as Marilyn Manson, backstage October 2015. I was 22 and he was 46. The first thing that he ever said to me was that he was going to bite me. She says that he immediately love-bombed me, telling me he felt like he'd known me for years, and I felt similarly. He offered me cocaine. He told me to take off all my clothes and take a shower in front of him, and then the second time he broke a wine glass in his hotel room and demanded we make a blood pact together. He cut both of our hands with a broken glass. In an allegation from Sarah McNeely on Instagram, she says this: Brian Warner lured me in with love bombing, posing as the perfect boyfriend, claiming he was just misunderstood, charming, smart, funny, and charismatic. As he was wooing me, I would come to find out he was torturing others. Before long, I was the one being tortured. I was emotionally abused, terrorized, and scared. I was locked in rooms when I was bad, sometimes forced to listen to him entertaining other women. In another story from Ashley Lindsay Morgan, he seemed intelligent, authentic, and caring. After a very long time of talking and texting, he flew me out to Los Angeles to be a part of a film and photo series. He said he believed in me as an actress, and I had confided in him that I wanted to get out of modeling. It seemed like the perfect opportunity. At first, it was. He made me feel safe. He told me he'd protect me, and I believed him. Things turned dark very quickly. I was given rules and got in trouble for any behavior he didn't approve of. She says she still feels the effects every day. I have night terrors, PTSD, anxiety, mostly crippling OCD. I try to watch constantly to get him out or off of me. Now, this is terrible. Now, obviously, and again, there are many things that correlate with all these stories. It wasn't too long after these stories came out that the cops swarmed Manson's house for a welfare check. It turned out like one of his friends said that he wasn't acting like himself and feared for the singer's life, that he may do something to harm himself. It turns out when the cops showed up, Manson never answered, but the cops were able to get in touch with a rep for the singer who said everything was fine and that Manson simply didn't want to come out, and the cops left shortly after. But there was a lot. They even had search helicopters looking around the property. Now we're going to go back to the start of this video. Do you remember when I said there was a fear of retaliation, slander, and blackmail that Evan Rachel Wood mentioned when she come out about Brian Warner? I tweeted February 6, 2021, Evan Rachel Wood reveals that she was threatened by Marilyn Manson's current wife, Lindsay Ulrich. If Wood came out about Brian Warner, Marilyn Manson, then inappropriate underage images of Wood, along with a woman named Leslie Lane, would be released. This is repulsive. Now, let's take a second to digest this. There's so many questions here. Number one, we call into question, you remember the allegation that he had groomed Evan Rachel Wood. Well, it explains what he would be doing with inappropriate underage images of Wood altogether. This is what Wood said on her story. On December 19th, I had to file a police report after I was alerted to threats made by Leslie Lane and Lindsay Ulrich, Brian's wife, for conspiring to release photos of me when I was underage, after being given large amounts of drugs and alcohol after Brian performed on Halloween in Las Vegas to ruin my career and shut me up. The conversation, which took place on Discord channel, read as this. Born Villain is said to be Leslie Lane, saying, I'm just not happy, especially today, because of the conversation I had with Lindsay. She's trying to get my photos. I know why. I just feel used. What do you mean by that? She's trying to get your pictures? So your pictures mean screenshots? I could bury her career in 1 minute. No, I used to stay with them, like pictures of parties. So what we have here is Leslie saying that she has inappropriate pictures from parties, pictures of Evan doing things that would ruin her career. Yes, my personal camera took pictures of Evan and everyone. I haven't shared them with anyone until Lindsay says Evan in the background of one I sent to Marilyn Manson and myself. Now she wants more of this to use to shut her up. I'm Leslie, by the way. Proof that Born Villain is Leslie Lane. So, now there's a couple things here. These are screenshots, so it is not a 100% confirmation that these people are who they say that they are. but it is enough for Evan Rachel Wood to feel threatened. And obviously there's things like this that do exist, or she wouldn't feel threatened in the first place. So I have nothing else other to believe than this is true. There's also an article from Hollywood Reporter detailing this in depth. I also will put it in the pinned comment. Also want to point out that Truth by Ali was the one that led me on to this information, so shouts out to her. Just today, a couple hours ago, Esme Bianca alleges that her Marilyn Manson relationship almost destroyed her. Now, this is a very harrowing, horrific story. It's one I'm not going to read, but this is the Game of Thrones actor. It will also be in the pinned comment. But I felt like getting this story out here to you guys is very, very important. I want to encourage, if anybody has any stories they feel comfortable sharing, you can reach out to me. I can point you into the direction of resources that can help you, people that can help you. And I just feel like these terrible stories that I've been reading, these things are just some of the worst stuff I've ever seen. This is a bad guy, guys. And I know a lot of people they just feel awful because they were such big fans. And I understand that. I get that. No one wants to hear things like this. Another thing I feel like I need to mention is with his wife, Lindsay Ulrich. A lot of people wanted me to talk about how she obviously is playing along with this abuse and doing his bidding. A lot of people think that there's a possibility that she herself could be abused and her mental health is in a very difficult situation, and that she may be even groomed to do the bidding of Marilyn Manson. So I think it's important to go ahead and bring that out there. But I do want to know your thoughts on this, because as interesting as this is, there's always something that's more interesting to me. That's right, you guessed it. I want to know what you think. So why don't you go ahead and leave your creative and interesting responses in the comment box below. And as always, brothers and sisters, I will see you in the next video. Whew, that was an intense one, but it's one that I felt was important to get out and for it to be talked about. So I'm very interested in what your thoughts are. Definitely spam some positivity turtles in the chat. I will be in the comment section, and if you do need to reach out to me, like I said, if anybody has any information on the Marilyn Manson stuff, or if they have a story that they want to share, my Instagram DMs are open. You can reach out to me on Twitter as well. Those links will be in the pinned comment, and we'll be here for you. We'll point you in the right direction for resources and help, and we'll do our best towards that. That being said, I really appreciate the patrons and all your guys' continued and ongoing support. We are currently at 108 patrons. We're like less than $3 from our next goal over there, and what we're going to do is do a relaxing painting live stream. I thought that would be something really cool. And I got to say, the last 2 live streams that we had have been fantastic. The support's been amazing. It's just been making me so happy and I just feel like I'm in such a good space mentally. And again, I wanted to thank you guys for all the support over the years, and it's just been great. And what can I say? Rep Squad, best squad. That's just another way to show that you're repping. If you're not repping, you're great. How you do that? Or you subscribe, notifications turn on. Be in the comment section after every single video, because I'm going to be there. Greg the Cat's going to be there, and the rest of the Rep Squad community as well. And I expect to see you there too, because this channel loves you. These topics are so difficult to cover, but it's got to be done.